Alright, today we're going to change the fuel filter. It's a Raycor Model 500, and this is for our wing engine, the Yanmar. Pretty simple. You take off the top, there's a T-handle. You got to be careful. This is at just a little bit of an angle, so the fuel just a tad might roll off the back, but I also have absorbent pads to catch anything. Then there's an O-ring. Pull the old ring off. There will be a new O-ring that we put on. And then there's just a little handle in here. You reach down and grab it. And with the twisting motion, kind of back and forth, I'm pulling out the filter. It's a 30 micron paper filter, basically. This also catches, it's like a little turbo action of the fuel that comes in here. It swirls. Any water would go under to the bottom. Fuel will float above it. And so you can look in here to see if there's any garbage, debris, water. You can drain it off the bottom too to check it. This motor lasts 20 hours on it, so it doesn't get used too much, but we do run it. Our goal is to start it up once a week and run it for about 10 minutes. This filter looks pretty good, but we'll go replace with a new filter. I already have a plastic bucket in a bag. We'll put it inside there. New filter, again, another 30 micron filter. We'll slide it in. And just be careful of the fuel not to splash out. The fuel levels right above here. Twisting motion, rolling it down. Clean off the lid. New O-ring will go on here. Got to make sure it's nice and level. And we'll coat this with oil too, because if you don't, if the O-ring is dry on this lip as you turning, it's going to twist and it will cause leaks, so we want to lubricate that with oil. There's also a O-ring that comes with it to replace over here. This one didn't have it. This is our first time changing this filter on this boat. I don't know why they didn't have an O-ring. It comes with the kit and it rolls over here. The filter top was a little bit different design, so it may not have needed one, but that O-ring goes over the brass threaded T-handle. And you can either use oil or diesel. I'm going to actually go with a different O-ring. This one has a little bit of deformed lip on it. Even though it's brand new in a package, I don't want to put this one on there. So I've got about 6 more. So I'm going to pull this one off that I don't like how it's sitting in there.
While you're doing that, I was just showing the Caterpillar engine, main engine.
Yeah, this has just sort of deformed. So it's not worth it, because if air gets in here, then you'll have air into the system, and then as the engine's pulling fuel, it could pull air, and if it gets into the injectors and all, you'll have a issue with that. So it's worth replacing with the good one. And once we get this on, I'm going to add a little bit of more fuel. There's really no fuel that came out, but I do want to top it so we don't get air once we start it again. And then that way.
Yeah, it's diesel fuel.
So this is oil. And it's just to lubricate the gasket. Just a little bit more. I've put fuel filters on trucks without lubricating, and then when you crimp it on there, it actually causes the gasket to spin, and it ended up leaking.
So if you took that on, how are you going to put the diesel fuel in there?
Correct on that. I didn't put the fuel in yet, so we're going to add a little more fuel. Thank you. So this one's not real easy to pull fuel off the bottom of the tank, which we won't want to anyways. So they didn't have a yellow jug. Yellow is normally for diesel, but there's diesel in here. It's a red fuel thing. I bought it brand new. Nothing's ever been in here except for diesel. The only other fuel tanks we have on board or for our outboard is gas, but they're up on top, and we won't by chance use that in this small boat. These are the safety nozzles that aren't real easy to play with. All right, so I'm going to add a little bit of fuel, and this fuel is clean. It's some people say you don't want to put fuel into the filter housing because you could be contaminating it, but you've got to put fuel in there. It's definitely taking some fuel. I think when you take the lid off, you're allowing air, and so it's settling down. It doesn't have a vacuum that is pulled. All right, so both gaskets, got the oil, got the fuel.
Well, that took less than 10 minutes to change out the filter.
We'll note the hours on it. I'm going to go ahead and start this engine, let it run for about 10 minutes. That way it's getting all the fuel that's in this bowl. Now we know there's no air in the lines or in the system. And this is our wing engine. This engine is sort of a get you home engine in case the main engine has an issue. Of course, if it has a fuel issue, it's using the same fuel as the big engine. The big engine has two filters like this up in the mechanical room. So it's the same fuel, but it's this has its own filter, its own supply line from the fuel tank. So, but its idea is if the big engine has a mechanical issue, not a fuel issue, then this will get us home at 3 knots, 3 to 4 knots. It has its own shaft, its own propeller, and we've driven it, used it, and it gets us about 3.5 knots. It's got 20 hours. It was put in 2018. It's a Yanmar 27 horsepower diesel.
All right, I'm gonna see if I can shimmy out of here and show you a little bit better view of it. I mean shimmy. All right, there's a fuel filter. And you can see the shaft back there. And then the generator's here. We're gonna go over around here, and this is the engine that I'm sitting next to. hopefully we'll be underway tomorrow and off our voyage.